Jerry, tell me again your full name.
Walter Jury Summey.
And your parents' names?
Walter Dewitt and Francis Arkansas Summey.
Francis Arkansas? How do you spell that?
Arkansas.
Okay. And do you have children?
Got one.
What's your child's name?
Tammy.
Tammy? And do you have any brothers or sisters?
Got a brother named Jay.
Jay?
Yep. Had 4 sisters. Had Viola, Clara, Janice, Nancy.
Okay. And where were you born?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Why were you born in Charleston, South Carolina?
Because my mom and daddy was down there working during the war in the Navy Yard.
Okay. So your family is originally from Saluda?
Saluda.
Okay. So they had gone down there to work because of the war?
Yep.
And which war would that be?
Second World War.
Okay. If you don't mind my asking, what is your date of birth?
5/14/44.
So your family has a lot of deep roots in Saluda, and I've heard a couple of names that I recognized, being Pace is one of them, and I think I heard Bradley as one of them. What other family names? Summey is a very Summey. I'm sorry, Summey. See, I always get corrected for that. I'm sorry. Summey is a very Saluda name. So, do you know how long your family's been in Saluda area, in this general area?
My daddy was raised here, and his mom and daddy was raised here. Well, they was raised in the Piney Grove section, which you know where it's at.
Tell everybody that's listening to this interview exactly where that is.
Well, you have to go about 6 or 7 miles over here towards Greenville on Greenville Street. You turn left and go around up Mine Mountain, back over past Mine Mountain and the big campground. And that's Piney Grove section right where Piney Grove Church sits.
Okay.
It was actually on the watershed side. And when they bought everything out, they moved everybody from the church that wanted people moved over to the new one.
Oh, okay. Huh. That watershed affected a lot of people, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They didn't have no choice. They didn't give them a choice. They went in there and took it. They gave you so much money and that was it. It was over with. You took it or you just lost your property.
I know there's still some old chimneys and footprints of homesteads and property back in there that if you can get in there to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the Paces in my family were affected by that.
Well, that's like Caramel Lodge down here. See, it was originally on that corner right there. It's 25 and Greenville Street.
There are very few people that know that.
Yeah.
And so can't you see the foundation of the Caramel when you get up to the end of the road? Isn't that the foundation of it sitting right there on the right?
The one sits on the right. If you turn it coming back this way, it'll be on your right, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that...
Bly Pooh had a little store right there.
Who did?
Bly Pooh, he had a little store right there on that corner, very on the corner. Yeah.
I guess you've seen a lot of changes in Saluda over
I have.
Yeah.
Can't believe it.
Yeah. Even I can't.
This is the truth. I come back here in 2000, well, about October 2006, I moved back here. And one day I was down at Ward's store, or the restaurant, and somebody told me, he said, you ought to go sit on the street and see how many people you see from Saluda. I seen one. Man come down through there, the whole herd of people going down the street there, and he was telling about the trinket shops and the purple onion, and he got down there to me. I said, buddy, I said, do you know what all them buildings originally was? Well, no. I started at the police department. I said, the next one was the AG Food Store, Fred Pace owned it. The next one was a restaurant, Lee Ray Ross owned it. The next one was Will Forrest's barber shop. By the time I got that far, he was gone. He left me sitting there.
Bill Holbert and Betty Anna Brown both did an interview where they went down the street and they just named them like you did. Because so many people don't know that things aren't exactly like they are right now. They don't realize the extensive history. Like this building and City Hall have seen a lot of changes.
Yeah. Well, see where Leon's store is, on this side of that little alleyway, these people don't know this. That used to be a bank.
Yeah.
They come in there at 35 and took all the money out of it and went broke. Miss Mosseller come here and put a rug shop in there. They sent a rug from the White House. It was in Heir Truman's room where his dog had tore the frill out of the rug. They shipped that thing here. They went in there and hung it on a frame, fixed it, put it back on there, and shipped it back out.
Your mother did that.
Huh?
Your mother.
Oh, my mother worked there, yeah. Her and Aunt Della, me, Foster. When they wanted the rugs, they'd have to build them so big, like they built a rug that fit the foyer of NBC Studios. And it was so big, and of course they had the big tall ceilings in there. They had that frame up, so they stretched it in, they put so much on it, and Hub Middleton and Jim Bell would go in there at night and take all that down to the bottom and re-stretch the frame, and then Miss Mosseller and them would put the pattern on it, and they'd sew that much till they got it totally done.
Now, what kind of rugs did she do?
She done hand looped.
Like a hooked rug? Was it a hook?
It's
A loop rug?
Yep.
A lot of people don't realize how famous she was as an artisan in creating those type rugs, and how they were went into some very fine homes, like you said,
Yeah.
and a president had one of the rugs, and I think she may have a rug in the Smithsonian now.
Probably has.
I don't see. I'd have to go back and look back in some of my notes, but I'm pretty sure she may. I know she's.
When Miss Mosseller went out of business, then Mama went to making rugs for herself. She drawed all her patterns. Well, she showed Daddy what she wanted. My daddy could draw anything. He drawed all her patterns, and then we'd put them on the frames for her. So you take lamp black and gas, and you punch little holes all in them patterns, and you put it on your burlap, and you take a paintbrush and you paint all that with that black, and you pull it off, and there's your pattern. And of course you had to know what color you wanted, if you wanted red roses or if you wanted burgundy roses. And then a lot of times she would make rugs for, they was Miss, trying to think of her name. She owned a home over at Lake Sheila. Her son was the first person to ever win the $64,000 question on TV. Miss Hayes. Miss Hayes was her name. Mama could make rugs all day long, and she'd buy every one she took. And then finally she wound up just making rugs for Miss Lawrence down there in the valley. And she took all the chair mats and all that stuff. Her and Aunt Lett made them and took them every Saturday.
There were a lot of Saluda women that worked for how do you say her last name? Mosseller?
Miss Mosseller.
Mosseller. So I've heard a lot of Saluda women worked for her and learned that process, and several of them went out on their own. And folks don't realize who have these rugs now, they don't realize what they have. I remember my grandmother had one, and she would talk about it some, and I wish I knew where that rug was now.
Yeah. I've got one that I made, but it got left laying over at Mom and Daddy's in the basement, and they got some water on it, and it rotted a little place. I've been trying to find the stuff to fix it with, but I ain't found it yet.
Now, she had a son. Didn't she have a son? Miss Mott,
Ron.
yeah. And I was thinking he picked up that craft,
Yeah.
that art as well.
And then she had a daughter named Betty Ann. Matter of fact, there's a picture of Mom and Daddy. I don't know if your mother's got it or I don't know who's got it. That she done in charcoal.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Daddy. I think Janice wound up with it. But yeah, she stayed here a long time. Her house was right there where you turn to go down Ozone Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Right across where they got that little old restaurant bar thing up there.
Mm-hmm.
Her house sit right up there.
It's set up on Shand Hill.
Sit there where that,
Just going in. Is that chimney that's standing behind that log cabin, is that
probably is.
her chimney?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it had 2 or 3 fireplaces in it. It's a big home.
Okay, excellent, good information, I didn't know a lot of that.
Funniest thing I ever seen up there, when I was a kid, it would tickle you, you know. She had little dachshund dogs. One to get pregnant, she'd take a roller skate and put under it and strap it around it where it could run around the house. That tickled me to see that thing.
One thing I have learned over the years is that Saluda has had a lot of characters. To be
Right.
such a small town, there are some truly unique characters in Saluda.
He is.
And a lot of people the people that are here today don't realize the history and the people that have left their footprints here in this town, and we enjoy what they left for everyone else, but we don't know who they were or what gifts they gave to this town. And one of those really true gifts to Saluda is Coon Dog Day.
Yeah.
And I know you know a little bit about Coon Dog Day.
I do.
So can you tell us what you know from your own experience of how Coon Dog Day got started?
Well, they started it out, there was George Johnson, Hicks Hill, my daddy, Dewitt Summey.
Say your daddy's name again.
Dewitt Summey.
Okay.
There was Odie Gordon and Clyde Hill. That was the main 5 people. And the whole thing was set up ready before they started the parade, was they would buy coons. A man would catch coons and bring them up here, and they was $20 a piece for every one of them, and they'd restock the coons. That's what it was all about. That's what it really started to be.
Now, these people that you named were members of a club.
Yeah.
And what was
Coon
the-
Dog Club.
Was it the Blue Ridge, Blue Ridge Coon Club?
Yeah, it was Blue Ridge, yeah.
Blue Ridge Coon
Coon Club. Yes.
Okay. And Blue Ridge Coon Club was in Saluda, is
Yeah.
that correct?
That's where it
That's
started.
where it started. So they were, raising money so they could buy those raccoons to restock for the hunt, for the
Yeah.
coon hunt?
Yeah.
So how long had the Blue Ridge Coon Club been in operation? Do you have any idea how long that'd been around?
Let me think. It was in about probably 62 or 63, somewhere in there.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So they decided that, because the Blue Ridge Coon Club had been having chicken dinners for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
And so what made them decide to have a parade added to that?
Before they decided to have it,
Why did they decide to add a parade to their,
it just kept building up and building up, and more people was a-coming. And see, before they had the parade, they would have a tree over there, and they'd put a coon up that tree, and then they'd have a treeing contest, what dog stayed at the tree the longest, and whatever happened to it, and then just, and different things, and then they'd have a show of the best looking coon dog, and right on down the line. And that's what they done right there in the park for a long time before they ever started the actual parade.
so they actually did the judging and the competition up at the
Oh, right in
McCreary
there,
Park.
right where that park, where that little park
Park
is
is
now.
now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they moved it down to the school for
Yeah.
a while. And then
Yeah.
I think they've moved it back up to the park though.
And then they finally wanted, right towards the end, they even started going on and vote from here over to Odie's at the lake. And they'd have one where the dogs, they'd put a coon up a tree in a box. And the dogs would tree it and they'd judge them. And then they'd take that coon and run it on a cable all the way down and put him right in the middle of the lake. And then they'd have to swim out to it, which dog got there first, and so on and so forth.
So what was the reason that they had to go and purchase more
Coons?
raccoon?
Well, they had caught them and trapped them, and of course you could sell their hides, you know. And they'd sell the hides and get money to put that in there too.
So they basically had depleted the population of raccoons.
Well,
in
it
this-
was getting low, and
So
so
they had to buy
they
some
just
more.
started, a man come out of Florida, he would bring them up here, and they'd buy them, big truckloads of them, yeah. And each person got their coon, and they could turn it out where they wanted it, you know.
Did people eat raccoons, or is it just their pelts, their fur? What was the attraction of a raccoon? It wasn't food.
Well, back
Was it their
years
fur?
ago, people eat coon.
They did?
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, just like you'd eat a groundhog or something.
Or a possum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a big sweet tater in him.
The
There you
raccoon
go.
or the,
In a raccoon, yeah. Cook it inside of it,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
So the coon hunt was a pretty big deal back in the day.
Coon hunting, oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's
Well,
done at
that's
night?
the way you showed how good your dog was.
Oh,
All of them, wherever they lived, they had a building or something that they put all their hides on. And when you went by, you could see how many coons they'd caught that year. And it was a big, just a big thing. If your dog had the most coons, then you had the best coon dog in the country, you know, so.
that was kind of like your blue ribbons was how
Yeah,
many
that's it.
coon hunts you had hanging up on your barn.
That's basically it, yeah.
Okay. But the coon hunt was usually done at night, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, 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 you didn't hunt coons in daytime.
Okay, because they're nocturnal animals, so
Yeah.
you hunt at night. Okay. Do you think the coon hunting is as popular today?
I don't think so.
Not like it used to be.
Not like it used to be.
I remember my daddy talking about it.
I think
when he was
about
a boy.
every schoolboy had a coon dog and everybody else,
Yeah, they're pretty dogs.
yeah.
They're not
Well, you
pets,
got so
though.
many different kinds, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Do you ever do any coon hunting?
I've done some, and you went with Dewitt. You'd turn them loose, and when they treed, they never treed where you could walk flat ground. They had to either go 500 mile down over a bank, or in a rock pile, or somewhere. He'd say, boys, go down and see if you can see that coon, and we'd have to go all the way down in there and shine a light till we caught his eyes. We'd say, right up yonder, Daddy. Then he'd come down there and take a rifle and shoot it. We had to go do all the looking. And you didn't want no dog to run a fox. Because if he run a fox, brother, I guarantee you'd be there 4 or 5 days before you ever come back. My daddy, that was one thing about him. If he had one run a fox, he didn't stay long. He'd either break him or he'd be gone.
So did you prefer other type of sport like fishing, or
I love to fish.
did you fish on the Green River? Did you ever go fish, did you fish on the Green River?
Green River Cove?
Mm-hmm.
My mama was raised in Green River Cove. Lord, yeah. I fished, caught suckers and trout. They some of the best trouts ever been right down at the far end at the Devil's Track.
Did you ever see the Devil's Track?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Many, many times.
So that's a real thing.
Yeah.
So what does it look like?
There's a big rock there, and it actually looks like a footprint. If it's still there now, I ain't been down there in years. Somebody may have done something to it or whatever, but it's absolutely, it's sitting right down there.
Not many people know where it is. and it's overgrown, I hear. Horace Pace, I interviewed him several years ago, and he could take you straight down to it, but he said it's hard to get down there now.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I think it's hard probably to get down in there, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of kayakers go down in the cove, and I hear it's an effort just to get down there. Well, that's interesting. So, is there anything else you want to tell us about Coon Dog Day?
Not other than just, I remember when it started, and I remember how it used to go. I did tell her about this one. I won't never forget it. They used to meet out there just on the other side of 26, up there at Mac Bradley's property. Was out there one day getting lined up in the wagons and everything, and there was an old boy named Lonnie Couch from up at Tuxedo. He come rolling up in there with a horse. He got on that horse and come off with our backers. When he did, that horse went and jumped up, took one kick, and kicked the whole grill out of a man's brand new Ford truck. He had to pay to fix it.
So y'all were lining up for the parade.
Oh, yeah.
And where were you lining up at?
You went under 26. As you like, you was going to Hobbart's Cove. Mm-hmm. That first big field that was right there belonged to Mac Bradley. And he let them set up right there, and then the parade come all the way from our end of town.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the way you just said Halbert's. Everybody, I say Holbert, but I guess it's
Halbert's Cove.
Halbert's what the
Yeah.
locals say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever, he was probably, maybe died before you were born. I'm not sure when, can't remember when he passed away, but did you know Billy Morris,
Who?
the century-old fire? William Morris, Billy Morris?
Bill Morris?
Bill Morris, the century-old fire down at Holbert Cove?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear tell of him?
Yeah. I've heard him talk about him. I don't know if I ever actually.
Yeah, you may be too young to.
Yeah.
I can't remember what year he passed away, but a few people that were born in the 30s that we've interviewed met him and told us about him and how he had that dog sitting there and he always had his fiddle nearby.
Yeah, there used to be a lot of people down there. It's gone. Went on old man Price, he lived right on the left down there when you went by Thompson's there on the right. He was there all, never married, he stayed there all his life. Made wine.
Made wine?
Wine. Nicest tasting stuff you ever drunk in your life.
So did he make muscadine?
Muscadine and grape.
So, and what was his name again? What was his name, the winemaker?
Well, I just said Mr. Price.
Mr. Price.
I couldn't tell you what his first name was. I just know everybody, you was young, you called him Mr. You didn't call him by their
You
first
did, no,
name.
you're right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you have some other really, really interesting information. And it's a topic that a lot of people are very interested in. And that's the stories of the old bootleggers and moonshine runners in this area. And it's really pretty amazing just how many there were in Saluda.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did you know any personally?
Croft Ross was made liquor down in Green River Cove. Nobody wouldn't buy it, though. He went blind on his own liquor.
Why would nobody buy it? Because it was pretty rock gut? Did they say that right term, rock gut?
Absolutely, yeah. He went blind on his own liquor.
Oh, wow.
It was a cold winter. He wanted it to work off, and he threw car batteries in it to work it off. See, if you, in a cold weather, and do it right, you went in a barn, and you dug down in the cow manure, and set your barrel down inside of it, and just let it sit right there. And that heat from that cow manure all the way down in that ground would work that liquor off. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
Now, you're talking about after it's made? You take the barrel?
No, this is before you put it in the steel itself.
Oh, okay.
It's your mash that you pour in.
Put your mash in the barrel.
Yeah, you put your mash in your barrel, and if it's real, real cold, see, it takes a long time for it to ever work off.
What do you mean by, you mean to ferment? Are you talking about like, when you
Yeah.
say work off, you mean to bring that fermentation? Okay.
Working off, yeah, it's fermenting. And in the winter time, you just went in, like I said, in a cow stall, and you dug you a hole way down in that manure, You set that 55-gallon drum in there and leave it. Of course, you don't never put it all the way into the top. You leave your space in there, and it'll sit right there and work off.
And it's
But
nice and warm
he didn't want to wait on it, and he threw car batteries in it, and he went blind.
What do you mean he threw car batteries in it?
Yeah,
What do you mean he threw?
To make it work off. You can throw a car battery in it, and it'll heat her up. It sure will.
Wow.
Yeah.
I pity anybody that didn't know that and bought that shine from
Yeah.
him.
Everybody knew who to buy from and who not to buy from.
So, at the risk of dropping names, who do you think was the best moonshine maker in these parts?
Well, I ain't bragging, but it's my daddy and his half brother and step-brother would probably been the best that you could have gotten, and knowed you was getting good liquor.
And so how long did he make it?
Well, he made it from the time his daddy died when he was 9, I think. I think he went to the 3rd grade. Well, see, Granny, his daddy died. Well, then she married old man Scott Pace, which was brother to M.A. Pace down at the store. And his wife had died. Well, he had, I think it was 6 children. And then Granny had 5. And then she married him. Well, he didn't live that many years when he died. So Daddy had to quit school and go to work, splitting locust posts or making cross ties or whatever it took to feed them. And made liquor. That was another way to make money. He just went back when Mower Roads used to have a train stop down there. Granny would make chicken sandwiches, well, the biscuits, you didn't have no loaf of bread. And he'd take them down there and sell them for $0.25 apiece. I won't never forget, he told one time, said he sold a man one for $0.25 and he gave him $0.25. And he took the chicken, and it was a chicken wing. He broke the tip off that chicken wing and gave the whole thing back to Daddy. Said, you can resell that. All I want is that tip off of that chicken wing. And that's all he wanted. But anyway, as the years went by, of course, Daddy married, and times are still tough. And he is over there plowing in a little rock pile, I call it, trying to make something grow. And him and Uncle Warrior was splitting locust posts and making cross ties. And he seen in the paper where there's going to be a welding school down at Greenville if you wanted to get in on it. Well, he found somebody that knew how to get hold of him down there, and he contacted him. And I'll never forget what my granny told him. He was out there plowing a mule. She come out there and she said, Dewitt, said you've got a letter here from somebody. So he got it and opened it up and read it, and they'd accepted him to go to that welding school. He said, Mama, he said, I've asked to get in this welding school, and I'm going to go down there and be a welder. She said, you can't be a welder. Said, that's a God-given talent. Said, you'll never make it. And I'm going to tell you one thing. He is one of the best ones that ever come out of this country. I told her, we used to go on jobs, and if he was in the test booth testing, there'd be foremans over there fighting over who was going to get him in recruit. That's the truth. And I'll tell you another little deal right down there at Raymond's. Burgie had that little garage, went out on the side of the old station.
For the camera, you're talking about Raymond
Burgie Pace.
Stevenson and Burgie Pace.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they was down there one time, and Daddy and Bob Midcack, somebody come in there and had a radiator had rusted out. The drain plug had rusted out of it. And Daddy told him, said, well, we can weld that back, raise it back. Bob Midcack was a welder. He told Daddy, said, you can't make that, you'll never stop. And had still had water running out of it. Daddy told him exactly how to set the gas gauges on for the torch. Fired that torch up. I just talked to a man not long ago right up there at Mud Creek Baptist Church, and he told the same story. He was standing there when it happened. Daddy told him what to set the torches. He took that brazing rod, made one pass around that thing, it quit running. They drove the truck out of the garage. He knowed his stuff. I'm not saying call him my daddy, but he knew when it come to welding, he knowed it all. But like I said, he would make, when he went to that welding school, he would take a keg of liquor, put it on his shoulder at Piney Grove over there, walk through the mountain, come out on 25 down there. There was a man from Hendersonville was going to the school. Dad didn't have a car, and they would take that keg of liquor to Greenville and sell it to buy the gas for him to go back and forth with. And he done that until he turned out to be a welder.
So making moonshine actually put him through school?
Absolutely. And like I said, they put him in college too. They sent him to Parkersburg for 6 months. Didn't help. He come back and went to make liquor again. It's the only way to make it.
So he went to prison?
He went to jail, yeah. Sure did.
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
So, but I heard that it was just such a viable way, and I don't want to say easy, but it was a talent, a skill that only a few had, and it was in such demand that it was really hard not to make it if it paid as so well. And
well, it's paying now.
Yeah, now that it's legal in legal distilleries.
A gallon is selling for like $300 a gallon. That's how. But I always tell you this, you better know who you're getting it from. You better not just go up there and get you some, because you may get a whole lot more than what you wanted. You got to know the person. Absolutely.
I've heard that before. So where did he make the moonshine? Was this in the Piney Grove? Was it Piney
Grove?
Was it that Piney Grove community where he made the moonshine?
Yeah, it's a community over there.
Okay, so did he do this down on a creek, or where did he?
Oh yeah, you got to be on a creek.
On a creek.
You got to have water. See, when you put that liquor in the still and you fire it up, when it goes to making steam, you got a worm, you call it, comes off, goes down into a cave. You got to have water running in that to cool that steam to turn it into liquid.
So that's after that mash has fermented in that barn.
You put your mash in your cooker over here. Then you got what you call a thump keg, and then another keg, which has got water in it. Well, a thump keg is to keep it from doing just what it would do, is thump. It'd go boom, boom, boom. It wouldn't take a federal man long to figure out what that noise was. So that's where a thump keg come in. And then when you got into that, when it come out, it would come out liquid when it run through, when you coil. You put your coil down in there in a barrel of water, and when it does that, it'll cool it down, and when it comes out, it's liquid, which is the liquor.
So how long does it take to make a barrel of moonshine?
Make a run. You can make a run in a night.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Well, but you gotta let it ferment first, though. It's gotta ferment. And then you make it.
Yeah, you gotta have it ferment. It takes some time. It's according to how hot it is, or how cold it is, or where you're at.
So once you get that, then you can do a run in the night.
Once you get that.
Okay. Well, I didn't know any of this stuff.
That's what you pour in your, you don't pour it in the boiler itself. You pour it into a keg over here. And that's where it all comes about.
Okay. Wow. So, who are some of the other moonshiners in the area? I heard there was a pace that was pretty
much. Pace that made it. There was.
Was that over on Thompson Road? Wasn't there a pace?
Dawson's made it.
The Emerys.
The Emerys. Yeah.
Pretty popular thing to do.
It was the only way to make a living. I mean, here.
Then you had your runners. You had to have somebody that's going to run your moonshine. You mentioned down 25 on the South Carolina line. I always thought that was Dark Corner. Where do you define it?
Dark Corner, you go to Landry. And just before you get to Landry, you know where Highway 14 is?
I don't think so.
Have you been down from Tround?
I have been down that way, yes.
Well, okay. You go up, when you hit the South Carolina line, you go up and you start down the other side. There's old car garage and all that sitting on the right. Right at the foot of that hill, that road that goes to the right, that's Highway 14. Dark corner, you go straight out 14, a pretty good little ways out there, and it's all on the right-hand side. That's dark corner.
Is that near Glassy Mountain area?
Yep, that's part of it.
Okay.
Sure is.
Because that's a big history, and that's probably played into some of the moonshine running around here too.
Yep, many gallons of liquor been made over there.
Yeah, people don't want to go, revenuers, law enforcement, they don't want to go into dark corner.
Down here on 25, when you got down there what I call the bean field, all that was moonshine property. That, when you first go down where you turn right and you could go out to the dam at the watershed, there's a church set right there. They kept one day a deacon was out there and he happened to just get a look or something. And he pulled up a water line. And they had run a water line from the church up to a liquor store. Sure had. I could have told you who it was. Back in my day, I'd have probably told you. I made liquor down there on 25, but over to the right of that.
Now, is that down near Gap Creek, or is that too far south?
Gap Creek was just,
Gap Creek.
there was a time that you didn't go to Gap Creek unless you know somebody down there. Or somebody would kill you before you get out.
There's a famous book written by Robert Morgan called Gap Creek, and it's about that area. Do you know Robert Morgan, an author from Hendersonville? And it was on the #1 best-selling list from Oprah Winfrey's best-selling list, and it's all about that area. I was just reading that book. Did you read it? Yeah, it really shows you just how rough life was.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you, it was rough down there. One woman had a place, they called it Rock and Ruby's. It was an old store, and she sold beer and liquor, bootlegged it. Her husband and his next door neighbor, if one was drinking, the other one didn't drink. Because if they got to drinking together at the same time, even if it wasn't together, they'd have a shootout before it's over with. That's the truth. But now Gap Creek was a real deal. There's an old boy right here, and I'll call his name. Me and him were buddies till the day he died. He took an old boy from here down into Gap Creek, and they let it. Well, I'll tell you who the man was. The man was well known. Everybody knows him. He was little as wasn't that big, but he'd cut you in a heartbeat.
Who? What was his name?
Welton Owens. Anyhow, Kenny Ray took him down to what they called him Preacher Pool. He wasn't no preacher. He was a drunk. And let him out. Welton was fooling around with his wife. Well, Kenny went back up to Rock and Ruby's and fooled around, and him and Coon Dog for a long time there. And finally went down there to get them, and they was law everywhere. Of course, then they went to questioning Coon Dog and Kenny about why they was down there. And he told him, said, I come to pick Welton up. What had happened was they was in the house, and Preacher Poole had cut his leg with a old bar rake, I call him. It had pretty bad, I guess it was. He was in a bed and he was hollering, complaining, crying about it hurting and this and that and the other. Welton told him that his wife done it. She said Welton done it, and I believe Welton did do it. Cut his head off. When they walked in the door, she had his head sitting on the table shooting at it with a pistol. That's the truth. Sure did. But she finally gave up and just said, well, I done it, and put her in jail. And Welton come on back to Saluda, got out of it. But, well, when Welton died, He lived on Thompson Road out yonder. When he died, some of his family took that old house. And they was out there digging on the old little old shed that was out there and found a woman's body out there deteriorated. They never did know who that was. I always figured he picked her up hitchhiking or something out here.
And this was on Thompson Road?
Yeah.
Is that house still standing?
No, they tore it down. You know where Estelle Flynn lived? You might not know Estelle. If you went on Thompson Road, if you went down Saluda here and then went on Thompson Road, come back the other way, when you go around through where they built all these houses now, you top that hill right there, there's a new house that's there. That's where the old house was.
That's, you're taking it, you just came in from 176 and went that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Thompson Road intersects right there with Louisiana Avenue where I live.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See, Estelle was married to well, I went crazy. A.G. Hill.
Oh, really?
Originally.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when he owned the Texaco, which they made the SO into Texaco then. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then they divorced and she married somebody else. I don't know who she married, but they built a big house out there on Thompson Road there.
Well, that's very interesting. Do you all have anything you want to ask him about?
I was just curious, the only shine I've had came from a state liquor store. What would the difference be between that and
What'd she
shine
say?
to me?
What's the difference between what you buy in a liquor store that's white lightning there or moonshine and what you got from a real?
The liquor store, liquor you buy in a liquor store is made in a brewery, just like Jack Daniels or anything else.
I think she's talking about like legal moonshine.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, oh, okay.
So it's made in a big plant. It's not made in a 55-gallon drum or.
So they're not small batches, they're
Right.
very.
Yeah, it's not made in small runs.
It'd probably be the difference between buying a cake at the grocery store and a homemade cake,
Yeah.
That's a great, yeah.
you know?
Great comparison, yeah.
And if you've got enough money and you take a barrel, a wooden barrel, and you put you something down in there, some charcoal or something, and light that barrel up inside and shake it real good and let it burn for a while, and then get all that stuff out and put that liquor in there, and that's where you get some of your best charred liquor. Just like that right there.
I know in Forest City, they now have that Cherry Bounce Festival, and it's named for a type of moonshine some feller made, famous by adding cherries to the shine, yeah.
So you got apple. Some of the best white liquor you ever drunk in life is apple. If you get your hands on the right people that made it. I had a boy up there at Pigeon Forge that I got it off of, but something happened to him. I can't find him no more. But now that apple is really good. I never did like the cherry like I did it.
I guess Forest City grows a lot of cherries, maybe that's why they were famous for that. Did
Yeah.
Saluda moonshiners have a particular style? Did they add fruit? Did they add a certain fruit or
You
certain?
can put fruit in.
But I mean, did Saluda have a signature moonshine?
Not that I ever did
Okay,
that.
okay.
No.
Okay, well, that's the interesting moonshine stories. So, now you said you knew a little bit about Pheobie Sullivan, that you remember her when she was in Saluda. What do you remember about Pheobie Sullivan?
Well, I remember Miss Pheobie, and I know there's some of the best people that you ever met in your life. Her daughter Lola. They wasn't a black person in that whole section of Mr. Walt Parks and his wife, or Grangwell Neuter and his wife, or Kenneth and his wife, or the best people you ever met in your whole life. She made her living by making little bags of some kind of stuff that you hung around your neck. Supposed to ward off all the demons and stuff. She sold it in New York. And when she died, you couldn't get nowhere through here. There wasn't nothing but Cadillacs out of New York going to her funeral. And she owned everything. When you went up Graham Street and turned right, she owned everything from there all the way to the church. And she rented them little houses. And when they had them houses, they lived under her roof. You missed it, you was gone. The only time I ever can remember, and I wasn't living in, but I've always heard them talk about it, was they had one shootout over there. They had one man got carried away and beat his wife up, and I don't know what all he done. And Gurley Lauder, and we called him Little Daddy Hip, was his deputy, and Willis Johnson went over there, and they had a shootout. They killed him. I think it might have been Willis Johnson. He shot one of them. I think it was Willis Johnson that got shot. He didn't shoot him to where he would have killed him. But that was the only time I ever knowed them having an actual killing. And she run that whole thing till she left this earth, and then Miss Lula run it till she left this earth. I don't know what happened, how everybody bought everything up. I don't know how that come about.
Do you know why that she came to Saluda?
Who?
Phoebe, do you know why she settled in Saluda?
I have no idea. Don't know if she was raised here or what. I don't know how
So just as long as you can remember, she was there?
Oh, yeah,
She was
she's
there.
been there
Okay.
as long as I can ever remember, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear tell of what was in those bags?
No.
Okay, so you don't know you did not know what was in the
I
bags?
just know it's some kind of herbs and all this stuff that she put in there, but, you know, he said it's supposed to run off the evil spirits of you.
Did you ever hear about anybody being healed by her?
By her?
Healed by her.
No.
Did you ever go to any of her gatherings when she'd have the singing and the food and the big celebrations?
I've been over through there. I didn't stop and stay there. But, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, buddy, every Sunday was a cookout over at that church. You can bet on that.
Did you ever hear that there were some pretty famous musicians there, like Mahalia Jackson? Did you ever hear about
She
some of
may have been. I'm not
Okay.
going to say she didn't. 'Cause
Did the black
everybody knew.
community, did they, were they welcomed by the folks in Saluda, the black community?
Absolutely.
They were welcomed and part of the community? and-
Yes, most definitely. That's like Gainwell and his wife and his brother and his wife. Well, they wasn't better than Mr. Walt Parks and his wife. They just wasn't no better people than them people. Now, I can remember a time when the blacks had to, if they wanted something out of the stores, they had to come to the back door and give them a list, and they went in and got it and brought it back out. I can remember that.
So they weren't allowed to go in just like
No,
everybody
no,
else?
you had to just,
So, you don't recall how, you never heard a story about how Madam Sullivan, we call her Madam Sullivan, how she got all that property? You think she just raised enough money to
yeah,
purchase the property,
absolutely.
just she made good money?
Hey, I'm telling you that deal about all them herbs and stuff that she put in them little sacks. Them people up north, New York, and places like that, brother, you should have seen it when she died. It was just limo after limo after limo, as far as you could see. Come in here to her funeral.
That's fascinating.
Sure did. I don't know who owns all that land now.
Still in the family's possession.
Is it? Well, I know she owned every bit of that over in there at one time. Now, she didn't own Mr. Walt's house, and she didn't own Gainwell's house. I do know that. They owned him.
Okay.
Mr. Walt was right there where, where Wade Pace lived in that white house right in the curve, where the little watershed building is.
Mhm, yeah.
You turned and went right up in there to Mr. Walt's.
Okay. Okay.
And that was Miss Phoebe Sullivan. I don't know if you ever, not Miss Phoebe, but I'll think her name in a minute. They run her out of here. She had a cat house.
That probably didn't go over real well in Saluda.
Yeah, they run her, Miss Pheobie run her out here.
Oh, did she?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Was she a black lady?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure was.
so they're, okay, that's interesting.
She moved up on Clear Creek.
Oh, me. So, we've covered a lot of topics, so can you think of any other things you want to talk about your life growing up here and?
I can tell you about some of these mean people here.
You mean to present day mean people or people from the past?
I'm talking people from the past. My first cousin was one.
Mean, how are they mean?
He shot 2 policemen right down there in Saluda.
What happened and what year was that?
That was in about, it was in the 70s, trying to think. He was over liquored. That's what it was about. They had the boy's daddy was a little old night policeman here at one time, and then he had left. And then they hired him as a night policeman. Well, him and his daddy had beat my first cousin, Austin Pace, out of 100 gallons of liquor. Didn't pay him. And I'll never forget it. I was right there on that street when it happened. He come to town one day. He had a shotgun and a jar of white liquor. And he went into every store down there trying to buy a double oak buckshot, and nobody had any. And he went in Jack Ward's and bought a bunch of number 10 shotgun shells. He sat on that street on a bench, and nobody opened their mouth to him till dark. And when the Baines started to come out of the jail, out of City Hall, he was right across that railroad track right there. He shot Ronnie. He's lucky he had bird shot. If he'd had or number 10, or he had killed him. He hit him right in here, and he fell back in the door, and his daddy hollered, "Let me show you how to make an arrest." Well, he shot him. He made it back in the building. They called the sheriff. When the sheriff come, he had, now you got to get this, he had shotgun shells between every finger.
The sheriff did?
They thought he was shooting an automatic shotgun, and he had a single barrel shotgun.
The guy doing the shooting did that, had
Yeah,
that.
Austin Pace did, yeah. So they finally, he seen he's going, all them cops started coming in. He went right on that bank right over yonder. Lay right on top of that bank. Well, here comes some deputies out of Henderson County. When they made that right there about where that barbecue house is, he blew the whole front windshield out. It, by luck, didn't kill anyone of them or hurt them bad. And then he took off and left and went home. He lived over on the other side of Piney Grove Baptist Church. They went over there the next day to get him. It took 75 police officers over to get him. And he was up there at the house, and Pearl, his wife, she come walking out to Aunt Dorothy's, and she seen them all down there. She went back and told him, said, "Austin," said, "that road's full of police officers down yonder." He told her, said, "Well, I guess I better go down there and talk to him." He just got his shotgun and a jar of liquor, and here he went, walked right down to him. And his mama had an old 53 Chevrolet sitting there on the blocks. Hugh Heir was the sheriff. He told Daddy, said, when he got right there to that 53 Chevrolet, he dove in behind that thing, son. He said they were bullets flying everywhere, both directions, from him and them. And finally Hugh said, he hollered and said, wait a minute, said, you gonna break my liquor back here? Them bullets was going right on through the car. He said he just set the liquor up on the hood and stood straight up. Hugh walked over towards him. He said, "Austin, I'm gonna arrest you." He said, "You don't drink liquor?" And he said, "No, I don't believe I do." He said, "I believe I'll have one before I go." He just turned around, took him a big drink, set it back on the hood of the truck, got in there with him, took him right on to jail.
So the sheriff arrested him.
Yeah.
And what was the sheriff's name?
His name is Hugh Howard.
Hugh Howard?
Yeah, in Polk County.
Okay. And so, and the man that was doing the shooting was a Pace.
Yeah, Austin Pace.
Austin Pace. Okay. And he
Yeah.
was upset over.
Oh, they had he had sold them 2 police officers some liquor and they didn't pay him for it. And he told Jack Warden them that day now, he told them right there in that store he was gonna kill him. If they brought him down there that night, it was his first night, the young boy. It was his first night. He said, if you bring him down here, I'll kill him.
And so what were the names of the police officers that were shot?
Ronnie Bain and his daddy.
Ronnie Bain and his
His
father?
daddy, yeah.
Okay. I've heard that story over and over so many times, but I've never heard it with that much detail.
Yeah.
So that's,
See, he was my first cousin, Austin was. That's the reason I know so much about it.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
One of those paces. You know how they are.
Well, I was here, you want to hear something else about it?
Sure.
When they finally took him down there, they put him in Dix Hill. And he stayed down there for I don't know how long, and he escaped.
Now, where's Dix Hill?
It's down in
Is that Morganton?
Raleigh.
Raleigh.
And it's the mental institution.
Yeah.
State mental institution.
Yeah, I knew it was, but is that what
It's always been known.
is it
that.
called that? Is that
It's
still?
still,
Yeah.
I don't think it's in existence anymore. I think it's, I don't know what's happened to it, but, you know.
Doesn't- it
you should
doesn't
say
have
we're gonna
another
send
name.
you to Dix Hill if you don't.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But anyhow, they took him down there and locked him up in the crazy house. Because it was crazy, you know. He escaped. He walked. Now you get this, he walked from Raleigh to here. Never hitchhiked a lick. Went back to his mama's house. Well, somebody found out he was over there. So then they wanted to go get him. Well, then they was drawing straws to see who had to go get him. So they finally took a whole crew over there. And old J.C. Moffitt was a deputy. He said, let me go up there and see if I can talk to him. And he went up there and talked to him, knocked on the door, and Austin come to the door. He said, Austin said, we're going to come to arrest you. He said, well, he said, you want a cup of coffee? Yes, he said, his mama's house. J.C. said, yeah, I'll go in there and have a cup of coffee with you, because he knowed if he talked to him right, you could handle him. Anyway, he finally went in there and had a cup of coffee. Austin said, we're ready to go now. He got in the car and he took him back down there, put him in prison. Well, he stayed down there, I think it's right about 10 years.
What she did.
Okay, so you're going to tell us about Ms. Tisdale.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, Miss Tisdale was an heir to Colgate Palmolive. She named Colgate its name. And she had a house out there on Frost Road where Perry Como and them lived. Had the prettiest Rolls Royce a man ever laid his eyes on. It was a green and yellow. Had her little chauffeur up here and her in the back. But she was as common as they come. When she every square dance, Friday night at square dance, Betty that woman was there and she danced every dance till it was over with. Well, one night she went home and the chauffeur had left. And she decided she wanted to go somewhere and she done had her a few and run that Rolls Royce off and tore it up. And they never could find parts to fix it. That's the prettiest thing. I mean, I was just a young boy, but I could just about slaughter because when she come up the street with it, and she went and bought an old gray ugly thing, that just about broke my heart.
Well, now, who was it that lived in the Stack House? I thought that was the lady that was an heir to the Colgate family that lived in the Stack House on, it's off Substation Road. You know, the old Stack House that sits way up on the hill, and looks down over, what's his name?
You talking Substation Road out here?
Yeah.
Where the nursing home?
Yeah.
No.
You know what I'm talking about up on the hill?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
Looks
about.
over Alex Sally's house.
Do what?
That house sits up on the hill and looks down on Alex Sally's house.
No.
Well, there was a woman that lived there who was an heir to something.
Well, I don't know
I
what
thought it
she
was
was.
Colgate, and she had a cottage there just for her chauffeur.
Well, Miss Tisdale lived out there on Frost Road, right next to
Near Perry Como's property.
Because
Okay.
I went out through there, and she had 2 daughters. Everybody wanted to date them. And, yeah, she sure did.
So did you ever meet Perry Como?
One time, met him down there at Ward's store. Yeah.
Was he nice? Nice to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's as nice as he could be.
I've always heard that the locals just treated him like one of the locals.
They did. He would just, he'd come up here. Well, that's like old General lived right there above the service station.
General King.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and my grandfather were close. They were big friends.
Yeah.
He bought that house from my grandfather. And then after he owned the property, my grandfather would keep an eye on it for him and help him
Yeah.
get some work done on it and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And General, he was
Yeah, he was
supposedly,
a good old man.
yeah.
I worked on his car, changed oil in it, filters and everything else.
Yeah, they said he was just like everybody else.
He's just
yeah.
a common person. You wouldn't have known who he was if you didn't know him, you know.
I've got letters that that he exchanged with my grandfather about that house. They were putting in a new bathtub or something like that. But yeah, he General King led now see, you're going to know this better than me, the Death March on Bataan.
Mm-hmm.
He led the Death March. That was just, huge history. One of the hardest battles and things, of course he had to do that. And
I worked with a man in pipe fitting. He went into service when he was 14 years old, slipped in under the wire, and he was in the Bataan numbers. And he'd tell you some stuff, buddy.
Do you remember John Rhodes?
Yeah.
John, I interviewed him, and he went into detail he went through 3 different tours, and he was injured, and he would heal up, and they'd throw him right back in.
Yeah.
He landed on Omaha Beach, and he was, it's amazing what he had to go through.
See, Raymond Goss was I don't think he was in the Bataan Death March, but he was in the war. He said that's where he got religion.
Oh, I'm sure.
He said they told him to take a hill. And he said he got down in a foxhole, and he said, you ain't never seen just praying in all your lives out there. I don't know if you ever knew him, but, oh, he is a good person.
Are you saying Goss?
He married Wayman Pace's daughter.
You're not saying Geis, you're saying Goss. G-A-U-S-E?
Who?
How do you spell his last name? Goss?
Who? Goss.
Oh, so you are saying Geis?
Yeah,
Okay,
Geis.
'cause I'm Geis.
Geis, yeah.
I'm a Geis too. Geis is part of my
Geis,
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, and you never met him. I don't care if he was from New York, if he was from Hong Kong. If you spoke to him, the first thing out of his mouth would be, honey, do you know God? That was, it didn't. When they put him in the nursing home, he had him a little church over there till he died. He stayed over there.
Yeah, the Geis family, they're instrumental in Saluda as well. They, of course, Peter Geis with Peter Geis Bridge, and Robert Pace. His mama was a Geis,
Yeah.
and Robert Pace's mother and my great grandmother were sisters,
Oh.
Minty and Minnie Geis,
Okay.
and they were the granddaughters of Peter Geis.
Yeah, yeah,
So that made Robert and Raymond first cousins.
yeah. Yeah, he was a good somebody,
Yeah.
that man was.
Well, do y'all have any other questions or thoughts before we wrap it up, or anything else you want to say?
Well, I got one more thing.
Okay,
I was gonna tell you this,
All right.
and it just come to me when we started talking about Raymond. There used to be a man lived over on where the road that goes down, we was talking about, that comes back out at Mountain Page Church, Old Mountain Page Road.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a preacher, never owned a car. He comes to Saluda every Saturday and got right up there on that corner, and everybody knew him. He'd pick him up, he'd take him to Hendersonville. He walked from this end of Hendersonville to the other end, and this end back down here, preaching. And he done that for a whole solid day. Never eat nothing or nothing.
Who was he? What was his name?
He's a McCoy. You remember what I told you, Lola? It'll come to me about the time we leave. Well, I was doggone.
About what year was that? What time frame?
Well, it was in all the way up through into the probably 80s before he died. And he never missed a Saturday. I told him, I said, right now, you know, you can't preach on the street in Hendersonville. They'd have had to lock him up every day. Every Saturday, they'd have had to lock him up because he'd have been on that street preaching. Thomas McCoy was his name.
I've heard about those Fauntleroy's.
Fauntleroy.
Yeah.
Dr. Fauntleroy.
Yes, and his brother.
Oh, boy. You know the story about his brother?
Which one?
Judd.
The judge.
Judd. Well, it's Judge, but everybody called him Judd.
Oh, did they?
Do you know about him? Why he went crazy? He was, you ever heard of the Hatfield and McCoys when they had to shoot out in the court? He was the judge on that jury, on that case. And he went crazy. And Doc brought him up there with him and kept him till the day he died. He sure did.
I have never heard that. I'm sorry, I have to exclaim a little. I've never heard that. Wow.
Old Doc would come out, I'll tell you good. No, I don't remember what was wrong with him. They called him, you know, he didn't ever have a car. He walked everywhere.
Now, which one are you talking about? The
Doc.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was something wrong with him, and he come out there. Of course, all he know to do is give you a shot. Had them old needles about rusty as I don't know what. He got me over there, and I was eating them old canned sausage, he called it, a biscuit. And he bent me over there, and boy, he hit me with that needle, turned to walk around. I turned around, I hit him the sausage biscuit right in the butt, and he had a big old greasy spot on his seat. Mama liked it. I thought she was going to kill me. But he was the only doctor here. But he knew exactly what to do to you. I mean, he knew to tell you exactly what was wrong.
Now, which one I used to carry the sack with chickens in them? A chicken. I always carried a bag that had a chicken in it. Was that the judge or the doctor?
It would do what?
We'd bring a sack, we'd walk down the street down here at Greenville Street with a sack, a bag with a chicken in it.
Oh, that was Doc.
Doc?
See, Judd never did come to town.
Oh, okay.
No, he stayed right up there on that hill in that old big house, him and Doc.
Now, you're saying Judd. Was Judd's Peak named for him?
Maybe. Could have very well been.
But they called him Judd versus Judge?
They called him Judd, yeah. Judd Fauntleroy, yeah.
That may be how Judd's Peak got its name.
His name, everybody really is Judge Fauntleroy. I don't know his real name.
Right.
I'm trying to say me like Doc's name was Galen.
Yeah, I've never heard him called anything but Doc and Judge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so characters.
But he sure was. He was a judge in that shootout. They said he
Hatfield
went
and
crazy.
McCoy's.
In West Virginia.
So that, for real, that particular case.
That's what the story's always been since I've been living. And then he went crazy when they had that big shootout. He went crazy.
I bet that would drive anybody crazy to have to deal with those families.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, any other characters about Saluda or anything else you want to share with us? For sure.
They ever tell you, you might not want to put this on film.
Everybody always says that towards the end of the interview. They go, "You don't want this on film." His camera's not cooperating too well anyway.
Well, I'll just tell you, you ever hear them talk about Thomas Ward and them? and
I don't
haul
think so.
groceries and stuff like that. Anyhow, he lived up in above the old post office in one of their, they let him live up there. And him and
The
Jim.
old post office meeting when it was in town?
Yeah, the one right there across the alley from where Ward's store is.
Right, when it was,
Yeah,
yeah, had two
They let
stories.
him live up there. Him and Jim Bell and Hub Middleton always met down there on the street and sat and talked, you know. And old Paul come out there one time, of course he drank all the time. Come out there one day, sit down, Jim and them was sitting there, and Paul said, told Jim, said, Jim, give me a cigarette. So Jim gave him one. He said, now, Paul, I ain't gonna sit here and feed you cigarettes all day now. I ain't gonna do it. He said, oh, it's okay. He said, I don't need but one. He lit that cigarette up. He sat there and smoked that cigarette. They turned their head or something. He turned around. He had a gun right upside his head. He pulled the trigger on it. It hit a bone in there and went right around through there and come out over here. Didn't kill him. And when he lived from that day to the day he died, he never took another drink of liquor.
Who put the gun, he put the gun to his
Paul
own head?
Yeah, he's gonna commit suicide.
Sitting right there on the steps at the old post office?
Right there in front of that old drugstore. The old post office. But it hit, by luck, it hit a bone and it just went right around through there and right out the other side. And he never drunk another drop.
I'll tell you, Saluda's got
It
some
sobered him
stories.
up.
People think it's always calm and peaceful and, yeah.
This town ain't always been that way. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's been some real fights on that street down there, buddy,
You were never
over
in
the
one.
years.
Hey, Jerry, you were never in one, were you?
Huh?
You were never in a fight, were you?
Better not say.
He was probably.
I used to be, didn't bother me much. I don't never forget, I was sitting there one time, old Gene Lovell was a policeman. I didn't like him no way, you know. Anyhow, we was all sitting over at the swings. I think Jim Bell was over there and Coon Dog Lauder and 2 or 3 more. And we was on the swing there. And Bud Waters, you'd have had to know Bud. Bud would never bothered nobody, but he drank all the time. And old Lovell, that's the one he wanted to lock up, because when he got him, he was done already in the passing out stage, you know, and he'd take him to Columbus. So he got Bud and he took him down and stopped down there at the Twin Bridges, and this is how brave he was, and slapped Bud upside the head with a nightstick about 6 or 8 times, took him on and locked him up. Well, we was over at them swings, and he was talking about it, and I knew about it. And I looked him right in the eye and I said, well, I can tell you one thing, buddy. You ain't gonna do me that way. Because the damn first thing you'd have to do is be able man enough to lock me up. And I don't believe you are. And if you think you are, let's just go right now. But he back across that street, he went wide open. Well, I was down there later on, there was his little Bill Pace's 2 sons. I forgot another 2 young boys. And they was out there carrying on out there at that Gulf station, and the parking lot is closed. I was sitting there. Love will come out there. You boys get off this street and you get off here right now. I said, you boys stay right here with me if you want to. And you don't have to get off the street. Lola said they will get off his street. I said, we'll get them off of there. I said, get you some of it right now. He boy back in that jailhouse he went. Back in my day, I'm not bragging, but I didn't take a whole lot
You
off.
was something, weren't you? Well, Saluda's a tight-knit community, and if you have connections at all, you got a lot of connections, because people are so intertwined, and everybody's kin to everybody if you're, you know, ever,
You can't talk about anybody.
you can't talk about it, you talk about your own family, like the Paces, so, there's so many
Well, that's like
Paces.
I've always said, you get all these Paces together, and ain't none of them kin.
That's right, my
There ain't
grandmother,
over 5,000 of them.
my grandmother used to say, Kathleen, do you remember Kathleen Stevenson? My
Yeah, oh
grandma-
Lord, yeah.
She used to
She's
say,
a school teacher.
yeah, she used to say, we're not kin to those Paces. Your Paces are these Paces. They're all the same.
That's it, they're all,
Every one of them, they're all the same.
well, the Johnsons was the same.
Yeah,
way.
Johnsons,
And the Thompsons. They
Thompsons.
wasn't none of these Thompsons kin to each other.
Yeah,
Ooh,
no, I'm
not
gonna claim
me.
those Johnsons, we're gonna claim these, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
Oh yeah, my grandmother was real snooty about that. Well, did you know, last thing I'll ask is, do you remember Bill Edgerton and his wife?
Absolutely.
We own that house, their house now in Louisiana.
How are you?
Mhm, that's our house,
Yeah.
yeah. So I always like to ask about them and see what people remember, because I keep hearing that he was such a nice man. He and his wife both worked for the post office. He was a teacher and a coach
Yeah,
for the high school.
yeah. He's the only man, first man I ever knowed owned a moped.
Oh, he owned a
Motor scooter.
moped.
Little motor scooter.
Oh, now see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a motor scooter he rode back and forth to work on.
So he went
First
from our house to the post office on that little, well, I did not know that.
Every
Tell
day.
my husband about that.
Sure did.
How about that?
Tell about some of the school stories about the principal that, or the teacher that the boy beat up or something.
Oh,
in your school
the
days.
principal.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm trying to think what his name was now.
When he was in school.
Honeycutt was his name, principal was. This old boy, he is let me think what his name was. He lived in Green River Cove. He was should have been out of school 3 or 4 years before he was. Anyway, they was got out on the ball field doing something. And that boy, old Honeycutt, grabbed him. And that old boy broke loose and he started up them rock steps. It comes up into 176. And Honeycutt grabbed him. That's a fatal mistake. That boy got him down on them steps. He beat him like a drum. Every time he'd hit him, he'd holler, "Holler, Honeycutt, damn you, holler."
Wow. Oh.
When he got through, he got it, and the Green River Cove he went. Never come back.
So he became a school dropout.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
There was a sight. There's somewhere, Lolly Bell, which was my uncle, back years ago. I mean, that's before my time. But there was one named, I'm trying to think that old teacher's name. It's him and his sister both was teachers. Anyhow, they had them a little pond built over in a little creek. And he come over there and was going to tear the pond out. Well, they just downed him, all them boys, and pulled his clothes off, pulled him down to his long johns, and throwed him in that pond.
Oh, my goodness.
They sure did. Yeah. Now, your daddy's brother, he was a ball player.
My grandfather's.
Grandfather's brother.
Walter
Him and
Stevenson.
Wally Bell went to Chicago Cubs together.
Oh, I didn't know there was another Saluda boy that went
Yeah,
to.
Wally Bell, which is my uncle.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But they told him, you don't leave this building. And Wally left one night and went downtown to party, and then they kicked him off the team. He was a pitcher.
Leon always gives me that
Him
look.
and Charles Mabin. Charles Mabin was a great old big boy and as good as gold. I mean, he wouldn't bother nobody. Strong as an ox. I mean, he picked a whole 6-cylinder motor of a truck out of a car. Out of a
And
truck.
this was who?
Charles Mabin. He lives up in the Zirconia up yonder. Anyway, him and Leon got in a fight behind the church one time. Well, Leon had hit him every time he got around him, and Charles just wouldn't fight. So everybody got to tell him, Charles, if you just hit him one time, that'll be the end of the fight. Well, they got behind high school there one day. Of course, the whole crowd was there. And somebody had run and got Mr. Davis. Mr. Henry Davis was the principal. And he come out there and his fingers was, I guess, had arthritis, something as stiff as a board, you know. Finally, they went around the corner there and Leon slapped Charles, and Charles hit him one time, knocked him flat on his back. And he sealed in on him. And Mr. Davis standing there going, oh, Charles, Charles, if you quit, I'll give you a quarter, Charles. Charles, you got to quit fighting. He finally did quit. But every once in a while, I'll say something to Leon about it. Let's see.
Oh, me.
But yeah, we had some classic principals there.
It sounds like it. Did my grandmother ever teach you?
Who?
My grandmother, was she?
Yeah.
You had her?
Oh yeah, she is my teacher.
Did she paddle you?
Yeah.
She did, yeah. I don't think I've ever interviewed anyone that
Oh no, she never paddled me.
she never paddled you.
The only one that ever paddled me was Miss Coates. She is a third grader. She got me and Ted Johnson because of the fighting. But now Miss, she taught the first grade. I'll think her name in a minute. Anyway, she got me 3 times the first day of school.
Oh my goodness.
First time she didn't paddle me now. I hadn't never been on a school playground. I mean, you know, we didn't, never been on. And I was sitting there in that school ground, I got looking out there, boy, and I looked at all them rides and swings and stuff. I just got up and went on out there. She come got me the first time. She said, now, Jerry, you can't go out there. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, looked there a little bit, and I looked back out there. Shh. I went on back out there again. Well, she got me that time. Give me about 2 licks with one of them ball paddles. Put me back down there. I said, that wasn't too bad. I went out there. Here she comes. She got me again. She said, I told you didn't learn nothing, did you? I said, I guess not. And she paid it to me then. I said, from then on, I never wanted to play on the playground.
Now, what teacher was this?
That was Miss Hall.
Miss Hall.
Yeah. One of the best teachers in that whole school. She made a believer out of me.
Play around, did she?
I
don't think any of those teachers played around back then. Because everybody I've ever interviewed has gotten, just about got paddled by somebody over there. Most times my grandmother.
One of the meanest.
That's dramatic.
See, Miss Edwards. Miss Edwards taught my mama. And all of us and all of her grandchildren. Except that one. She teaches every one of them. But now Miss Huggins was meaner than the junkyard dog bed. She'd come by you, and you know how you do. You get sitting there, and especially up about spring of the year, and you're looking out there and how nice it is. Before you notice, them high heels about that deep would be right on top of your foot. She'd slam that thing down in your foot, hit you in the head with a geography book or anything. She hit my first cousin in the head with a geography book, and he knocked her out. Jumped out of the upstairs window against that bank and went home and never went back to school. I mean, he knocked her dead out.
Wouldn't you like to see in the news to get home?
I know, I'm thinking, something like this would get really played up on the news. Okay, let's see. All right, I have a question I want to ask you.
Is it incriminating?
No, it's not, but it's a question that I ask, hopefully this is recording right. It's a question that I ask everybody, especially those that grew up here and have a lot of wisdom about Saluda's changed a lot. We talked about that when you came in. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who's moving to Saluda or has moved to Saluda that didn't grow up here, doesn't know about its history, or doesn't have the background you have? What kind of advice would you give to them
About living here.
about Saluda in general? What would you have to say to them?
Well, and I don't know if you want to put this on camera, but it depended on if they was from the south or the north. I'd give one advice, the other a different advice. I've always told every people that wasn't raised in this country, there's three things you don't do if you want to make people think you're from here. You don't go to Saluda, you go to Saluda. You don't go to Tron, you go to Crown. And you sure don't go to Rutherford, you go to Rutherford. Now that, if you go to doing that, you can, I won't never forget us down at Spartanburg with her, and she was in a store, and a tall boy come over talking to me. He told me, he said, he is from over at Rutherford. I said, you wasn't raised there. He said, yes, I was. I said, no, you wasn't. Because if you was raised there, you'd be from Rutherford. He got up and left me. He wouldn't stay and talk to me. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't really know what to tell you now, because there's not many people that was raised in Saluda in this area, unless they live plumb over in Piney Grove or over Macedonia or somewhere, that to me, right now, that's just like living up north, right down there in that town right now. Because everybody's just, nobody knows nobody. They don't want to know nobody. If you're from the south, you're going to want to know who's who and what's what. They don't care. If they're away from here, they just want to come here and think this is the most beautifulest thing in the world. This used to be the prettiest little town there ever was. But now it's gone. There's nothing down there it used to be there except Pacey's store. Ward's store is not the same. They've changed it and all that stuff. So there's not really a thing. That's like these people probably comes to that train station that thinks that train station's been sitting right there for 100 years. It's just been there since they moved it here a few years ago, because it used to be on the other side of that bridge over there. But they don't know a thing about it other than it's just, and they never got to hear that old train come up that mountain whistling. And a lot of people don't know this, that they had an engineer that lived here. That train went down that mountain, he drove that train down. Paul Pace picked him up with a taxi down at Melrose and brought him back. They rented him a home right up there, and he lived there. If one come to the Melrose, he stopped. Paul took him down there, he got on that train, drove it back up here.
What was his name?
Mr. Gorman was his name. He lived just right on the back street when you're starting back towards the nursing home on the right there. They paid his rent, light bill, everything. And the reason for that was there was a train wrecked on that mountain years ago. And when that happened, one engineer, he let it get too fast and he couldn't get it stopped. And that's when they decided they'd have an engineer here that stayed here and just done the driving up and down the mountain. That's all he did. Yeah.
What would you tell the northern people that are moving in here? What would you say to people?
Or anybody new,
Anybody.
anybody new moving in here?
If it was me, I'd say just like Hendersonville, I wouldn't want to live there. I would not want to live with it, especially within the city limits of it. I want to be out away from it.
Do you think people have changed Saluda?
Absolutely. It's totally changed.
How do you think it's changed?
It's every business down through there that used to be, that been there for years and years gone. And like I said, these people probably owns businesses right down there right now, don't even know what the building that they're in, what it really was. You know.
think what he's saying is more of a tourist town.
It
than
is,
a
that's
real
what it
town.
is, and that's what it's all
not
about
a
now.
real
It's-
community.
What, the most popular response, and I think this is what you're saying, is you came here because you liked it. Why do you want to change it?
Exactly.
That's it.
So, why come to
Will you tell just one more quick story about, and I think this is like the craziest story, the one that you told me about Uncle Otho and the Bradley girl?
Oh, what happened to him?
Yes, because there's newspaper clippings on that back all this up.
Well, that was my mother's half brother. Her daddy was married and had six children, and she died, giving birth to the last one. And he had it in bed with him, let it sleep with him, and he rolled over in it and smothered it. It died. We had a son named Otho, and he run away from home when he was, I'm wanting to say he was like 8 years old, just left out of Green River Cove. And they didn't know where in the world he went. Well, then, of course, he had remarried by them, and had mom and some of them. And they just didn't know what happened to him. And one day, they was down there hoeing corn, and here he come a-walking up the road like he'd never left.
How long had he been gone?
He'd been gone, he come back home, he was in his 20s.
And he left when he was 8?
Yeah, and he had left with a carnival and been traveling all these years. And when he come back home, right, if you probably don't know, you know anything about Green River Cove at all?
A little bit.
All right, you know where you go down in the great big parking lots there? There used to be a big white house set right there. Well, he met Dory Bradley, which was Mose and them's sister. And they kind of got sweet on each other. And they come up to Saluda. And back then, you didn't come around all the curves to walk. You walked. There was a trail come all the way plumb to the top. And they come to Saluda, and when they started back down, about halfway down, he asked her to marry him. This is what he told the court. And she wouldn't do it. He killed her. Went on down, and when you went in that old big white house up on the top, they had like a little porch come out. He went up there and wrote Granny a note and told her what he done, why he done it, and she killed herself right there. And then when they went to bury him, they never would tell where they buried him, because they was afraid that the Bradleys would come up there and dig his grave up. So they buried him in Refuge Baptist Church out in the graveyard, supposedly. I went up there, and Jack's wife was with us, and I don't remember if Jack was with us or not.
Yeah, Jack,
He
Case,
might have
and his
been,
wife
yeah.
Annie, and you and I.
And we looked that whole graveyard, and we couldn't find not one grave with his name on it. But now there's a section out there that's got old rocks, just rocks sticking up, ain't nothing on them.
It's like a pauper's grave.
And we never have found his grave.
And what was his name again?
His Otho Case,
Otho Case. And he
Yeah.
is, how was he related to you again?
he was my mama's half brother,
Okay.
step brother, whatever you want to call him.
And who was the girl that he killed?
Her name was,
Bradley.
she was a Bradley,
She was a Bradley.
Dory Bradley.
Dory Bradley?
Yeah, and she was Mose and Clarence and all them sister. And,
Well, there's a lot of tales in this area. Some of them aren't too kind. Unfortunately, you know, like you hear news stories today, like we said earlier, and it's,
Every murder is reported today.
yeah, you just hear it all, and it all comes to you from all over the world, and
Yeah.
you feel like there's more, but there's not necessarily.
There's a lot of people don't know it, but in Green River Cove, and it'd be hard to find now for the years that went by. There's a big Indian burial ground up in there, in Green River Cove.
I remember my daddy talking about that.
I've been up there to it, yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Well, thank you for letting us interview you today, because these stories will be lost if they're not told.
Yeah.
So this is one small way of holding on to them.